Earth's leader was murdered. Humanity's revenge shook the stars. The morning began quietly on Earth. The sky over Washington was pale blue, and the sun touched the buildings softly. People walked to work, children ran to school, and the hum of normal life filled the streets. Nothing seemed unusual, and yet, across the stars, something was already moving that would change the world forever. President John Hale was preparing for a meeting he had been waiting for all year. Leaders from other planets were coming to Earth for a summit. They wanted to talk about trade, exploration, and security. To most people, it was a celebration of Earth's growing place in the galaxy. To John, it was also a chance to show that humans could handle responsibility. He stepped out of his office and looked at the city from the top of the government tower. The wind was cool, and he took a deep breath. "This is it," he said softly to himself. "Everything we've worked for comes down to today." John Hale was not a man who sought power for himself. He had grown up in a small town in Kansas, where people worked hard and trusted one another. His mother had taught him to be fair, and his father had taught him to never back down when facing danger. Those lessons had shaped him into the leader he was today. Emma Brooks, the head of intelligence, stood nearby. She watched John with her sharp eyes. She had been tracking strange signals in deep space for months. Alien ships moving fast in patterns that didn't belong to any known trade routes had crossed into Earth's sector. She had reported this to John, but the summit continued as planned. The aliens seemed curious, not hostile, yet something in Emma's gut told her to worry. The diplomats arrived in the morning, their ships gliding through Earth's atmosphere like silver comets. People on the ground stopped to look, pointing fingers and whispering. The ships were unlike anything humans had built. Some were tall and thin, glowing with lights of color no human had names for. Others were small, round, and moved with impossible speed. Children clutched their parents' hands, staring, and adults tried to hide their awe. Inside the summit hall, the room was quiet but tense. John Hale greeted each leader with a firm handshake. He smiled politely, listened carefully, and asked questions about their worlds. The aliens seemed impressed. Many had never seen humans in person, only through transmissions and videos. They noticed the way John looked directly at them, steady and calm. They noticed how Emma Brooks moved around, observing quietly, noting every small detail. Everything seemed to go smoothly. Until the moment the leader of one alien species, a tall being named Kral, reached for the cup of water on the table. No one noticed the small device hidden under it. No one noticed the faint hum that began in the air. It happened in an instant, a bright flash. A sound like a crack across metal. John Hale slumped forward, his eyes wide and then closed. Chaos erupted. Emma Brooks shouted, people screamed, and security officers rushed toward the podium. Kral froze in shock, as did the other alien leaders. It was over almost as soon as it began. John Hale was dead. The summit hall filled with screams and panic. People ran toward the exits, knocking over chairs and tables. Security forces tried to contain the situation, but no one knew what had just happened. Was it an accident? A bomb, an attack? No one could answer. Emma Brooks dropped to her knees beside John. She checked his pulse and found none. Her heart raced and her mind moved faster than ever before. "This was no accident," she said. Her voice was steady, but inside, a storm of fear and anger roared. Someone wanted him dead. The alien leaders were quickly escorted back to their ships. Kral's hands shook as he reached for his communicator. "We did not," he began, but his voice faltered. He looked at the human security officers who held their weapons ready and realized he would not get answers from them. The humans were stunned, but they were also determined. They would not let this moment pass without action. News spread quickly. Within minutes, transmissions from the summit hall reached every corner of the globe. News anchors, their faces pale, spoke of the attack. Governments declared states of emergency. Citizens tried to understand what had happened, but the images were shocking. The leader of Earth, the person who had promised peace and progress in the galaxy, was gone. Across the planet, people reacted differently. Some cried, unable to comprehend the loss. Others shouted for revenge, calling for immediate military action. Emma Brooks stood in the command center, watching the responses come in. She knew humanity could not act recklessly. The aliens had watched. They expected humans to panic. They expected chaos. And for a moment, it almost seemed that humans might give them what they wanted. But John Hale had taught them better. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was patient. Humanity would wait for the right moment. Admiral Lucas Grant, commander of the Space Fleet, activated emergency protocols. Ships rose from hidden launch stations and moved into position, unseen by the alien satellites that floated far above Earth. Pilots like Noah Price and Ethan Cole checked weapons, communication systems, and shields. Every human in the fleet knew the rules. They would not strike first. They would not act without careful planning, but they would strike with precision when the time came. Meanwhile, Emma Brooks and her team began investigating the assassination. They found traces of alien technology, unfamiliar in design, hidden in the summit hall. The device had been small, almost invisible, but deadly. Whoever made it wanted John Hale dead, and they wanted to send a message. Humanity was fragile, and its leader could be removed like a pawn. Emma took a deep breath. She looked at the map of the galaxy displayed on the holographic table. The patterns of the alien fleets, their trade routes, and the communications between planets were all visible. She touched a blinking dot. "We will find them," she said quietly. "And when we do, they will understand that humans are not so easy to destroy." In the following days, the world grieved. Memorials were held. People wrote letters and messages. Flags flew at half-mast. But behind the public mourning, Earth was moving. Scientists continued their work, engineers built new technologies, and fleets trained in secret. Humanity learned quickly that grief could be turned into strength. Grace Miller, one of Earth's best diplomats, met with the surviving alien leaders. She spoke softly but firmly. "We will continue our cooperation," she said, hiding the anger in her voice. "But understand this, those responsible for this attack will be held accountable. Humanity does not forget." Alien observers recorded everything. They noted the calm, measured responses of the humans. They expected chaos. They expected panic. Instead, they saw humans working quietly, gathering information and preparing. For the first time, some aliens began to feel a twinge of doubt. Perhaps humans were not the weak species they had imagined. Children at schools across Earth learned about John Hale in simple stories. They heard of his courage, his fairness, and his vision for a united galaxy. They did not yet understand the danger that lurked in the stars, but they felt the pride of being human. And somewhere deep inside them, the first seeds of resolve began to grow. In the hidden rooms of intelligence centers, Emma Brooks reviewed the evidence again. Lucas Grant coordinated the movements of fleets in quiet orbit. Scientists like Lily Harper ran simulations, testing alien technologies and defenses. Every small action, every careful calculation built toward one goal: justice. The world did not yet know what would come next. The aliens did not know either. They thought the death of John Hale would scare humanity, break its spirit. Instead, it began a transformation. Earth became silent, patient, and observant. And in the silence, the humans waited, watching the stars, waiting for the right moment to respond. And so, Earth changed forever. The death of a leader meant to weaken humanity became the spark for something greater. The galaxy had underestimated humans. They would soon learn that humans could grieve, plan, and strike with precision all at the same time. At night, the sky over Washington glowed with city lights. The people slept, unaware of the hidden fleets and secret plans. Emma Brooks walked alone on a rooftop looking at the stars. She whispered, "We will not fail him. We will not fail ourselves." Somewhere far beyond Earth, alien ships moved slowly through the void. Their sensors recorded activity, but they could not understand the full picture. They saw humans preparing, but they did not yet realize how deadly patience could be. John Hale's chair in the council chamber remained empty, but his presence was felt everywhere. His vision, his courage, and his lessons had shaped the people who would carry on his mission. The world mourned, but humanity was already learning to turn grief into power. The first part of the story ends with Earth standing silently, watching, waiting. The stars above seem calm, but the calm hides something dangerous: the rising will of humanity. And in the quiet, Emma Brooks and the leaders of Earth know one thing with certainty: the galaxy has made a terrible mistake. Humanity will not be broken. Humanity will not forgive easily. Humanity will remember. The world moved on, but the memory of John Hale's death lingered in every corner of Earth. People spoke of him in quiet tones, telling stories to children about a leader who had worked for peace and fairness. Cities returned to their routines, yet something under the surface had changed. Humanity had been shown its vulnerability, and now it would grow stronger. Emma Brooks spent her days in the intelligence center, going over every piece of information from the summit. She reviewed the alien devices, studied their communications, and traced the signals that had triggered the assassination. Nothing could be left unchecked. Every detail mattered. Every pattern might be a clue. She worked late into the night, sometimes forgetting to eat or sleep, because she knew that the future depended on what they discovered now. Admiral Lucas Grant was equally busy. He coordinated movements of the Earth fleet across secret space stations, hidden in distant asteroid belts and behind the gas giants. Ships rose from hidden hangars and tested their engines, trained in maneuvers that no alien had ever seen before. Pilots like Noah Price and Ethan Cole practiced endlessly. They ran drills where they would attack without warning, strike and disappear, and work together in ways the galaxy might consider impossible. Humanity did not act openly. To the outside world, they were mourning, negotiating, and showing calm. But behind closed doors, Earth was building something no alien could anticipate. Scientists like Lily Harper worked with engineers to improve technology in secret. They built faster ships, smarter weapons, and shields that could absorb energy far beyond what the galaxy thought possible. Every creation was designed for one purpose: to protect humanity and, if necessary, to avenge John Hale. Meanwhile, diplomats like Grace Miller continued meeting alien leaders. She smiled politely, spoke softly, and agreed to treaties. She appeared cooperative, almost submissive. But inside, she was observing, remembering every gesture, noting every weakness. Every conversation was a test. Every alliance was a possibility to learn. The aliens believed humans were broken, vulnerable, and afraid. Grace let them think that. In the cities of Earth, the people watched the news with worry and curiosity. Reports told of the investigation, the memorials, and the promises of peace. But they did not know that beneath the calm, humanity was preparing. They saw diplomats giving statements, but they did not see Emma Brooks tracing alien fleets in real time. They saw engineers building infrastructure, but they did not see the hidden bases where ships were built faster than anyone could imagine. Time became humanity's greatest weapon. Weeks turned into months, and Earth's movements remained quiet. Alien leaders began to relax, thinking humans were weak, disorganized, or afraid. Some whispered among themselves that they had won. Others discussed trade and exploration, assuming Earth's patience was weakness. But Earth had no weakness. Patience was a strength, and planning was power. Emma Brooks watched as alien communication networks shifted, noting who talked to whom, who obeyed orders without question, and who might be persuaded to betray the Empire. Lucas Grant prepared his fleet not for war, but for precision. No move would be wasted. No strike would be careless. Humanity would act like a single mind, perfectly coordinated, and the galaxy would not know what hit them until it was too late. One night, Grace Miller returned from a diplomatic meeting with a tall alien named Varric. He was known for his cunning and was respected among other species. Grace smiled politely, hiding her thoughts. Varric spoke about trade routes and technology, carefully observing human reactions. Grace nodded, taking notes silently. When he left, she whispered to Emma Brooks, "He trusts us. He underestimates us. Perfect." Emma looked at her team. "Every alien who believes we are weak will pay for that mistake," she said. Her words were calm, but her eyes burned with determination. "We will not rush. We will not strike too early. We will wait. And when we move, we will be unstoppable." Lucas Grant held a meeting with his top commanders. He pointed at a holographic map of the galaxy, showing the Empire's fleets, their supply lines, and their communication hubs. "This is not a war we fight with brute force," he said. "It is a war we fight with patience, precision, and strategy. Our goal is not destruction, only justice. We will dismantle their power piece by piece without harming those who are innocent. Every strike must be calculated. Every move must be perfect." Noah Price and Ethan Cole exchanged glances. They had flown through dangerous space missions before, but this was different. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for humanity itself. They trained harder than ever. Pilots learned to anticipate alien movements before they happened. Engineers improved weapons that could hit targets light years away with accuracy no alien could imagine. Lily Harper worked in her lab, testing energy shields and propulsion systems. She studied alien devices that had been recovered from the summit. Some were destructive, some were simple, but all were clever. She learned from them, improved on them, and created designs that humans could use in secret. Her inventions were small at first, almost unnoticeable, but together they built a force that could challenge the galaxy. Back on Earth, citizens lived their lives unaware. Children played in the parks, families dined together, and schools continued their lessons. But every human in some way was changing. The sense of loss for John Hale became determination. The fear of alien power became courage. People worked harder, learned faster, and supported one another in ways they never had before. Humanity was becoming stronger, not despite the tragedy, but because of it. One evening, Emma Brooks gathered her team in the intelligence center. "We have enough information," she said. "We know their fleets, we know their communications, we know their weaknesses. We have the technology, and most importantly, we have patience. The Empire believes we are broken. Let them continue to believe that. They will regret it." At the same time, Lucas Grant moved his fleet into hidden positions. Ships slipped through asteroid belts, behind moons, and into areas thought impossible by the aliens. Humans were everywhere and nowhere at once. Pilots reported their positions, practiced evasive maneuvers, and prepared for attacks that would come only when the time was right. Every movement was silent, precise, and secret. Meanwhile, alien observers recorded what they believed to be humanity's weakness. They saw diplomats cooperating, engineers building infrastructure, and fleets maintaining routine drills. Some alien leaders mocked humanity in private. "They are slow, weak, and emotional," one said. "They will not retaliate. Their leader is dead. They have no hope." But Earth did not respond. That was exactly what it wanted. The calm, the silence, and the patience made the Empire overconfident. They believed the humans would strike in anger, but humanity did not act out of anger. They acted out of justice. Grace Miller continued her diplomatic work, learning everything she could from alien leaders. She discovered political rivalries, supply weaknesses, and hidden secrets. She took careful notes, sharing only what was necessary with her team. Every secret she uncovered became a piece of the plan. Emma Brooks and Lucas Grant coordinated these pieces. "The world sees humans as weak," Emma said. "Let them think that. Let them believe it fully. Every mistake they make, every secret they reveal will make our plan stronger. Patience is our greatest weapon." The months passed. Humanity's technology advanced. Fleet training reached a level no one thought possible. Scientists perfected new weapons, shields, and communication systems. Diplomats gathered information silently. Emma Brooks tracked the Empire's movements day and night. Humanity waited, but it was not idle. Citizens felt the change too. They volunteered for exploration missions, worked in research centers, and trained for defense programs. Schools included lessons on science, strategy, and teamwork. People spoke quietly about hope, determination, and courage. They did not speak of revenge yet, but the sense of purpose grew stronger with each passing day. Then, one evening, Lucas Grant called his top commanders together. The holographic map showed small movements in the Empire's fleet, subtle signs of overconfidence. "They believe we are still weak," he said. "They will make mistakes, and when they do, we will act, but not yet. We wait for the perfect moment. Patience is our ally." Emma Brooks stood silently, watching. She remembered John Hale's lessons: think carefully, act decisively, and never underestimate the enemy. Everything humanity had done so far had been preparation. The Empire thought they had won by killing one man, but humanity had not just survived, they had grown stronger. On Earth, people continued their routines, unaware of the fleets hidden in distant space. Children played in parks, families shared meals, and cities hummed with life. Yet the calm surface hid a force preparing to change the galaxy forever. And above it all, the stars waited. Alien ships moved through space, unaware of the storm growing quietly behind them. Humanity watched, learned, and waited. They would not strike recklessly. They would strike only when the time was perfect. And in that quiet, hidden strength, the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Humanity was no longer the species they had underestimated. Patience had made them unstoppable. The Empire believed humans were weak. They believed that with the leader gone, Earth would crumble. But humanity had learned a lesson that no alien could ever understand. Loss could make them stronger, grief could make them sharper, and patience could make them unstoppable. The story of humanity's revenge was just beginning. And soon, the galaxy would remember that under calm, quiet surfaces, even a single species could rise and shake the stars. The galaxy had begun to forget about Earth's quiet patience. The alien empire believed humans had accepted defeat, that they were weak, and that their leader's death had broken their spirit. But humans had only been waiting. The time for patience had ended. It started quietly, almost imperceptibly. Communications between alien worlds began to fail. Traders traveling along important routes reported missing signals. Supply stations went dark without explanation. No one understood at first what was happening. The Empire's leaders assumed it was a technical error. They could not believe that humans were acting, that they were capable of such precise disruption. Emma Brooks stood in the Intelligence Command Center, watching the screens light up with data. "Phase 1 is working," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes shone with determination. "They think it is a mistake. They don't see the humans behind it, and that gives us the advantage we need." Admiral Lucas Grant activated the fleet quietly. Ships moved from hidden bases, slipping through asteroid belts and behind gas giants. They traveled in small, coordinated groups, avoiding detection. Pilots like Noah Price and Ethan Cole were ready, their training and preparation guiding every move. They did not rush. They did not strike blindly. Every action was calculated, precise, and deliberate. The first targets were communication hubs. These hubs were the central nodes of the Empire's information network. Without them, their fleets could not coordinate, their spies could not report, and their trade routes would begin to collapse. Humanity struck at night, using advanced stealth technology to avoid detection. One by one, the hubs went silent. When the Empire realized what was happening, panic began to spread. Fleet commanders tried to send orders, but messages did not reach their destinations. Supply lines were disrupted. Alien worlds suddenly found themselves isolated, without guidance, and unable to call for help. The humans had not yet attacked directly. They had only struck at the veins of the Empire, and the effect was devastating. On Earth, the public remained unaware. Children went to school, adults went to work, and cities continued their routines. But behind the calm, humanity's leaders worked tirelessly. Emma Brooks coordinated intelligence. Lucas Grant moved fleets with careful precision. Lily Harper improved weapons and shields, making each strike more effective. Grace Miller continued her diplomacy, gathering secrets that would ensure the next phases of the plan worked flawlessly. The Empire scrambled. Ships were sent to investigate the disruptions, but humans were always one step ahead. They had studied alien patterns, learned their habits, and predicted their responses. Every attempt to counterattack failed. When an alien fleet arrived at a disabled hub, they found it empty. No humans were there, no weapons, no ships, only silence. Meanwhile, supply lines crumbled. Merchant ships carrying food, fuel, and technology never reached their destinations. Colonies grew anxious and frightened. Rebel whispers began to spread among the alien subjects. They saw the Empire struggling and wondered if humans were stronger than they had imagined. In orbit above Earth, hidden fleets waited for the next phase. Noah Price and Ethan Cole checked systems one last time. Their ships were ready, their crews confident. Lucas Grant gave the signal. "Phase 2 begins now. Strike with precision. Hit only where it matters. Do not harm civilians." The next targets were shipyards. Massive facilities that produced warships for the Empire suddenly went dark. Factories stopped functioning, power grids failed, and fleets waiting for new ships found themselves stranded. Human task forces moved silently, striking with speed and intelligence that no alien had predicted. Every strike was surgical, precise, and unstoppable. When news reached the Empire, fear replaced confidence. Messages went out in panic. Leaders demanded explanations. "How could a defeated species do this?" one shouted. "They should be weak. Their leader is dead. Their fleets are smaller. They cannot do this." Emma Brooks watched the Empire's reaction calmly. "They think we are reacting in anger," she said. "They do not understand that we planned this. We are not fighting in rage. We are fighting with purpose. They will learn too late." Humanity did not strike recklessly. They avoided civilian targets. They avoided unnecessary destruction. Every move was deliberate, showing discipline and intelligence. Aliens who survived these attacks began to whisper about human cunning, about the strange, precise way they struck without panic. Grace Miller's diplomatic efforts also played a key role. She had uncovered internal rivalries in the Empire and quietly encouraged subtle disagreements. Alien leaders began blaming each other for failures. The Empire's unity began to crack, and humans waited, observing the weakening bonds. On distant colonies, rebellion began to stir. Alien subjects inspired by human precision started resisting their rulers. They sabotaged supplies, hid critical resources, and refused to fight for the Empire. Humanity had not even engaged them directly, yet their strategy caused chaos far beyond Earth. Lucas Grant called another meeting with his commanders. Holographic maps showed the Empire's fleets scattered and disorganized. "They are confused, afraid, and overextended," he said. "Now is the time to prepare for the third phase, but remember, our goal is justice, not conquest, precision, patience, and discipline. That is humanity's strength." Meanwhile, Emma Brooks analyzed the Empire's communications. She found panic spreading even among the highest ranks. They sent orders that contradicted each other. They misjudged human strategy, expecting attacks driven by emotion instead of planning. Every error they made gave humans a larger advantage. In hidden labs on Earth, Lily Harper's teams prepared new weapons. Energy disruptors, advanced shields, and faster ships were all tested and ready. These tools would allow humanity to continue striking with surgical accuracy, hitting targets the Empire never expected. Noah Price and Ethan Cole led their pilots on the first direct attacks. Not at planets, but at military installations controlling fleets. They moved silently through the void, invisible to the Empire's scanners. In minutes, the installations were disabled. Alien commanders scrambled, but human pilots had already vanished. Across the galaxy, alien leaders began to realize the scale of what was happening. Humanity was not just strong, they were disciplined, clever, and unstoppable when organized. Rumors spread that Earth had developed technology no one had imagined, that their fleets were coordinated like a single mind, and that they struck only when it mattered most. The Empire sent emissaries to Earth, hoping to negotiate. Grace Miller met with them, calm and polite. "We have no desire to harm civilians," she said, "but we will defend ourselves. We will ensure justice for the murder of John Hale. Any attacks on Earth will be met with a response you cannot ignore." The aliens left uneasy. They realized that humans were not only capable but determined. They began to doubt themselves, their leaders, and the Empire's strength. Some colonies rebelled quietly, inspired by the humans' careful strikes. Others prepared for war they did not want. Back on Earth, the public still remained unaware. Cities glowed at night, schools operated normally, and children played without fear. Only in hidden bases did humans prepare, train, and plan. Humanity's patience and intelligence had turned grief into power. Lucas Grant called a fleet meeting. "We are ready for the final phase," he said. "Phase 3 will show the Empire that humans are not weak. We strike with precision, we strike with purpose. And when it is done, the galaxy will remember that Earth will not be harmed or ignored without consequence." Emma Brooks studied the Empire's weaknesses one last time. "We are not angry," she said. "We are focused, we are patient, and we are unstoppable when we act together. Let them think they understand us. Let them prepare, and then we will show them the cost of underestimating humanity." The first strikes had already changed the galaxy. Trade was disrupted. Fleets were scattered. Colonies were questioning their rulers. Alien leaders were confused, fearful, and desperate. Humanity had proven that even a single species, disciplined and united, could challenge the Empire's power. Noah Price and Ethan Cole prepared for the final mission of the phase. They would strike the central command hub of the Empire's fleet. The hub controlled movement, communications, and weapon systems across hundreds of worlds. If it fell, the Empire's control would collapse completely. Lucas Grant looked at the pilots. "This is not revenge," he said. "This is justice. Strike carefully, strike only what is necessary. Humanity will not harm innocents, but we will show strength. We will show the galaxy that Earth cannot be broken." The pilots nodded. Their training, discipline, and courage guided them. They flew through the void like shadows, unseen and unstoppable. The command hub loomed ahead. With silent precision, they struck at the systems controlling fleets, disabling weapons, communications, and power. The hub went dark. Chaos spread instantly across the Empire. Back on Earth, Emma Brooks watched the screens. "They will not recover quickly," she said. "They do not understand patience. They do not understand humanity." Across the Empire, the leaders realized too late that they had underestimated humans. Their fleets were scattered, their colonies questioning their authority, and their command hubs destroyed. Panic spread. They had believed Earth was weak, but humans had proven that loss and grief could make a species stronger, smarter, and more disciplined than anyone had imagined. The stars themselves seemed to tremble. Humanity had begun its revenge, but it was not mindless. It was not cruel. It was precise, just, and unstoppable. The Empire would never see it coming again. The galaxy would remember this day forever. Humans had waited, planned, and struck with purpose. They had shown that patience and discipline were as powerful as fleets and weapons. The Empire had underestimated them, and the cost of that mistake was only beginning to be felt. And above Earth, the people continued their lives, unaware of the storm their species had unleashed. Children laughed in parks. Families shared meals. Cities glowed with lights. But humanity's leaders knew the truth. The galaxy would never again treat Earth as weak. The first strikes were only the beginning. Humanity had shown strength, intelligence, and patience. The Empire would not recover easily, and the stars would shake as humans continued their carefully planned revenge. The galaxy was in chaos. The Empire had lost control of fleets, communication hubs, and supply lines. Alien worlds were confused, isolated, and afraid. Humanity had struck with precision, but now the time had come to complete the final phase. The time for patience had ended. Emma Brooks watched the screens in the command center. She saw ships moving in every direction, fleets trying to regroup, and colonies questioning their loyalty. "This is it," she said softly. "The moment they will never forget. Humanity is ready to finish what we started." Admiral Lucas Grant coordinated the movements of Earth's fleets. Ships moved like a single organism through space, avoiding detection, striking only at critical military targets, and then disappearing before the enemy could respond. Pilots like Noah Price and Ethan Cole were ready. Every mission, every strike had been trained for years. Every crew member knew their role perfectly. On distant alien worlds, panic grew. Leaders shouted orders that contradicted each other. Fleets arrived late or in the wrong location. Colonies refused to supply food, fuel, and weapons. The Empire's control had collapsed faster than anyone had imagined. The humans had not just struck, they had dismantled the Empire quietly and completely. Grace Miller continued her diplomatic work. She met with alien leaders who had been loyal to the Empire and persuaded them to surrender or join the new order. Her words were calm but firm. "Resistance is not necessary," she said. "Humanity does not seek conquest, we seek justice. Join us or accept that the Empire has failed." Many listened, realizing that fighting Earth now was useless. Humanity had already shown its power. In orbit above Earth, Lucas Grant called a final meeting with his commanders. The holographic map showed fleets scattered, colonies freed, and enemy command hubs destroyed. "This is our final phase," he said. "We will strike the remaining centers of control. Only then will the galaxy understand what it means to underestimate humanity. Precision, patience, and justice, those are our weapons." Noah Price led his squadron through the void toward the Empire's central command hub. The hub controlled fleets, weapons, and planetary defenses across thousands of worlds. If it fell, the Empire's power would vanish forever. Pilots moved silently, avoiding scanners, and struck with careful timing. Within minutes, the hub's systems were disabled. Fleets waiting for orders froze, ships drifted, and military operations collapsed instantly. Emma Brooks coordinated these strikes from the command center. She monitored every movement, every signal, and every response. "Phase complete," she said calmly. "The Empire has no control. Humanity has won." Back on Earth, people still lived their daily lives. They went to work, studied, and played. Few knew the extent of the human fleet or the precision strikes that had reshaped the galaxy. But in secret bases, leaders celebrated quietly, knowing that humanity had achieved something extraordinary. Alien leaders attempted to regroup, but it was too late. Colonies refused to follow orders, fleets were scattered, and communication networks had been destroyed. The empire that had thought itself invincible now lay in ruins. Humanity had dismantled it without causing unnecessary civilian casualties. Every move had been deliberate, every strike calculated. The galaxy was learning a new lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated. Emma Brooks turned to Lucas Grant. "We have done what no one thought possible," she said. "We did not act in anger, we acted with purpose, and now the galaxy will remember us." Lucas nodded. "John Hale would be proud," he said. "We have honored his vision. Humanity has survived. Humanity has grown stronger. And we have shown the stars what we are capable of." In the following weeks, humans established new systems of order. Alien leaders who had surrendered were guided into peaceful governance. Trade resumed under Earth's careful supervision, and colonies that had suffered under the Empire were given independence. Humanity did not seek to rule the galaxy. They sought justice and stability. Across the galaxy, stories of humanity's strikes spread. Alien civilizations whispered about the precise, patient, and disciplined way Earth had acted. Children on distant worlds were told stories of humans who had waited, planned, and struck with intelligence. The reputation of humanity grew faster than any fleet, faster than any weapon. Fear mixed with respect. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Back on Earth, memorials were built for John Hale. Citizens gathered quietly to honor the leader who had been murdered. The memorials were not just monuments. They were reminders of why humanity had acted, why patience had been necessary, and why discipline had led to justice. Children learned about the sacrifices made, about the careful planning, and about the courage of ordinary humans who had risen to extraordinary challenges. Emma Brooks walked among the memorials one evening. The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows across the grass. She remembered the first days after the assassination, the grief, the fear, and the uncertainty. But she also remembered the determination, the planning, and the unity that had followed. Humanity had turned loss into power, weakness into strength. Lucas Grant joined her. "The galaxy has changed," he said quietly. "Humans are no longer seen as weak. We have shown them patience and discipline can be stronger than fleets and weapons." Emma nodded. "And we will never forget why we acted," she said. "We did not destroy. We did not seek revenge for the sake of anger. We acted for justice, and we acted as one species. The galaxy has learned that lesson." Meanwhile, Grace Miller continued diplomatic work, ensuring that alien civilizations understood Earth's message. Treaties were signed, borders were respected, and the lessons of the Empire's failure were reinforced. Humans were seen as wise, disciplined, and capable. The galaxy was beginning to trust Earth, but also to respect it deeply. Lily Harper returned to her lab. She tested new designs and improved old ones, ensuring that humanity would remain prepared for any future threats. Technology became a tool not just for war, but for protection, exploration, and the betterment of life on Earth and beyond. Children continued their lessons about science, strategy, and teamwork. They were taught the story of John Hale, of Emma Brooks, Lucas Grant, Noah Price, and the others who had turned tragedy into strength. They learned that patience, intelligence, and discipline were more powerful than any weapon. Humanity's story became a lesson, not just for humans, but for the galaxy. In the stars, the Empire's remnants struggled to rebuild, but they were careful. Alien civilizations that had once feared humans now respected them. They understood that any attempt to harm Earth again would be met with careful, precise, and unstoppable response. Humanity had set a precedent that would last for generations. Noah Price and Ethan Cole watched from orbit as fleets returned safely to Earth. They had flown missions that changed the course of history. They had struck with precision, discipline, and courage. They felt pride not in destruction, but in the unity and intelligence that had allowed humans to succeed. The galaxy slowly began to stabilize. Trade routes reopened, colonies resumed normal life, and communication networks were restored under human supervision. Humans acted as mediators, ensuring peace without domination. They had won, but they had done so wisely. Back on Earth, people walked under the same sky that had been filled with alien fleets. Children played, families celebrated, and life returned to normal. Yet beneath the surface, humanity had changed forever. They had learned that patience, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the greatest of threats. Emma Brooks, Lucas Grant, Grace Miller, and Lily Harper met one last time in the command center. They looked at the screens showing the galaxy peaceful and orderly. "We have done it," Lucas said. "We have honored John Hale. We have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of." Emma smiled. "And the galaxy will never forget," she said. "Humanity has proven that even in the darkest hour we can rise stronger. That is our true strength." As the sun rose over Earth, casting light across the cities, oceans, and mountains, humans looked to the stars with new confidence. The memory of loss remained, but it was no longer a weakness. It was a lesson. Humanity had grown not just in strength, but in wisdom, patience, and unity. And so, Earth and its people became legends among the stars. The empire had fallen not because humans were the strongest or the largest, but because they were patient, disciplined, and intelligent. They had waited, they had planned, and they had struck with purpose. The galaxy would remember that lesson forever. Centuries later, humans would tell stories of the day their leader was murdered and how the species rose from grief to strength. Children would learn that loss could lead to growth, that patience could overcome anger, and that unity could challenge the greatest powers in the universe. Above Earth, the stars shone quietly, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt a new order. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were respected, feared, and admired. And humanity had learned the most important lesson of all: true strength comes from patience, intelligence, and unity. And in that quiet, calm, and disciplined strength, humanity knew one thing clearly: the galaxy would never again forget Earth.